Howdy, and welcome to the Feed Bandit Podcast, where we talk all things hunting and introduce you to the most innovative hunting gear and services. Here are your hosts, Jimmy Byrne and Richard Kinchlow. Howdy, folks. Welcome back to the Feed Bandit Podcast. Jimmy here, and I'm joined by Richard. What's going on, sir?
Hola, amigo.
Hola, ¿cómo estás?
El viento es el fruto de mundo Sunday.
Oh!
Yeah, that's for our good buddy Illini.
I was about to say.
Yeah, I think his soccer stuff has fired back up. He watches that
Football.
but it's like English Premier Soccer.
Yeah.
You know, it's all these little towns in England that nobody's actually heard of except for the people that live in them.
Yeah, go Arsenal.
Yeah, go Cannons. Yeah. Yeah, no.
Folks
Good,
hadn't
man.
heard from us in a couple weeks.
I know.
Man, we were hunkered down, bunkered up because of
No.
all the crazy stuff going on.
I know. 2020 just kind of sucks.
We were we were on top of the Feed Bandit headquarters, about to become some rooftop Koreans.
That's right.
The rioting came by.
Our storefront was vandalized. It was all
Right.
Somebody threw something to our webpage. It was terrible.
Oh man! Luckily, it's back up now, though. So
Yes.
But,
And we filed for insurance. I mean, that webpage was like $2 or $3 million. So
Yes,
we'll
it
see
was,
how it works out.
very valuable. Well, so we're back in business. It's June, so now it's
June.
I looked, and this weekend it's going to be 98 degrees. So we're finally into the heat. It's here.
It's
Right?
here.
So
God, it's here.
it's definitely here. Been swimming, so that's nice.
Yes.
Feels good.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, what better thing to talk about right now than if we got our land, we have planning on going hunting in the fall. It's going to be hot for several months. June, July, August, at least until dove season, right? Well, it's even hot through then, but I mean until the next hunting season.
Remember, we've talked about this. It's a different kind of hot.
That's true.
In August, I'm looking for something to impale myself on and a bridge to throw myself off of. But come September, I'm like, I mean, literally, are there 31 days in August before I make this comment?
No. Yes, there are.
30?
Yes.
Oh, I guess
They're 30 in September.
All right, it's a leap year. I forgot. All right, so anyway, on August 31st, I walk. I'm like, God, it's so freaking hot, miserable, kill me. And then September 1, I'm like, you know what? There's a bit of nip in the air, which of course that's no different.
It's an Arctic breeze.
Oh, it's just amazing about how your attitude really affects just your overall disposition and feelings on life.
Mm-hmm.
No but in reality, though, the past couple of years, even when it hits August, I start getting excited. I mean, sure, we've got 32 days left.
1 month closer.
Yeah. I mean, I go one day closer. Exactly. So it is definitely getting warm out there, and but I'll tell you what, you're starting to see a lot of velvet. I know there in East Texas, you're seeing a lot of velvet. Starting to see some main beams for sure. The fawns. I think fawns start hitting the ground in April in East Texas, and now I know at Rancho Bandito, the fawns are definitely out. We came rolling around the corner over Memorial Day, and there's a pair of twins going to town on Mom, which was kind of funny. And they just they all just sit there and stared at us as they're beating the crap out of her udders or whatever, her teats, pounding the milk. But it was really cool to see, and my dad said that he got a good picture of some turkey poults.
Nice.
So, we didn't kill them all,
I appreciate that.
Yeah. I mean, we ended up getting several, but all by myself. But it's definitely getting in those crucial months. Though, if you don't have the protein feeders full, man, you are definitely behind the game. But you still got an opportunity, to make a difference with protein and minerals and things of that nature. That's kind of something that a lot of people debate is, when do you turn the protein off? When do you stop refilling feeders? And I've always gone by the rule of thumb that, obviously, we like to do January through the end of August is typically what we do. Obviously, January, the bucks are, recovering from the rut. It's cold,
emaciated.
Emaciated. Yeah, it kind of looks like me. Really.
Oh, it's opposite day.
Yeah, but oh god damn. They were 5th grade call. They want their stupid thing back. But yeah, and then obviously you start to get into the antler growing season. And then of course, everybody forgets about the does, but the protein's really good for the does as they're getting ready to start, having fawns, and even as they're nursing. So important to keep that there. And then of course the protein's there to keep the antlers going, keep the body weights up, try to help keep the nutrition up with the minerals and all that kind of stuff, through the really hot months of July and August. And really by August, they got what they got. They may still be in velvet, but the growing part is pretty much stopped. The fawns are, they're hanging around, but you could effectively call them weaned. You'll still see a couple that are trying, but that's typically our kind of the game plan we follow as far as when do you start and when do you stop it.
So is that why you call it the crucial time now? Because it is getting into the heat, and had a pretty wet spring, so there's probably still some food out there. But I mean, if it was a drought, then maybe but even so, I mean, it's probably a good idea to keep a program consistent, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Through feast or famine, so that your deer at least, are taken care of.
If there's some thinking that I've seen a couple of chat sessions, forum sessions about, can you, during a really wet spring, can you turn off the protein? Do you have to, do you have to get out there and get it filled up? And my answer is, of course, with deer protein or cottonseed or corn, whatever you're feeding them, it is a supplement feed. It is not their primary. It's not their primary food. You want their primary food to be what they normally eat, the forbs and whatnot. And so I would make the argument that if you're a guy who's got a lease and you couldn't make it out there for the month of April, but you had abundant rain, and you're in an area of wherever you hunt where you've got adequate forage, okay, and it's not overgrazed or it's not semi-arid, okay. I'd probably make the argument that, if you could get down there and fill up those feeders, it'd be good. But if you're going to miss a month, that's probably the one to miss,
Mm-hmm.
Whereas when you start to get into, June, July, August, that's when things really get hot and desolate. And a lot of that vegetation will just, what withers away.
Another aspect of that, though, I mean, I would think is whether you're on a high fence or not property, maybe, because I guess in a way you got to think about, what is the competition doing? If you're not on a high fence, let's say, if there's a lot of rain and there's a lot of forage and whatnot, and what you're putting out truly is supplemental, right? That if you stop, I wonder, I don't know the answer to this, but I'd be curious whether, let's say the property next door did not stop and they kept feeding protein. Now, let's say all things being equal, both property had the same amount of, natural food and whatnot out there.
Yeah.
I wonder what the deer would do under that scenario. Would
good question.
Would they care one way or the other, or would they maybe go to the property that had the supplemental protein? I don't know. I mean, it's something to think about.
Well, that actually is a really good question. I know that, on Rancho Bandito and a lot of the places that, when you really get abundant rainfall, the protein usage, the cottonseed usage, definitely goes down. But, that doesn't mean that at some point during a period of heavy rainfall and adequate forage that, a deer might say, you know what, I feel like pellets tonight.
Right.
Don't you? Let's
I'm
go
tired
out.
of the same salad stuff.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Let's go get some of that dry stuff, and we'll head out to the bar.
Right.
God, remember those days?
Barely.
Exactly.
The memory's hanging on by a thread.
Yeah, exactly. So, no, that's a really good question. But yeah, I mean, that brings up actually a good point. I think that you'd rather side on the to be on the safe side. I would think you try to just keep them full all the time, because you don't want to, to try to pull a deer over to your place and potentially try to keep that deer there. It's interesting. It could help.
Yeah, well, at the very least, I mean, if it's you're in that scenario, you're not going to be, or you don't need to constantly be filling your feeder. You could at least keep it at 25% or something, slow it down maybe enough to where it's still there.
Right.
Where, or where, I mean, I guess if it's just like a free choice, you just keep it, if they're not eating from it as often,
right,
the food will still be there.
Right.
You're not spending as much money.
Well, okay.
So long as you have coon hoods attached.
Now, that a boy. Yeah, no, but that's true. I mean, it really is. I mean, those we all know. Anybody who's ever done any hunting, the raccoon's going to find your feed. He's going to find it first, and they don't care how much hits the ground. They're just going to sit there and scoop it out. So, we have had coon hoods now on one of our protein feeders, and I just got to order for the rest of them because when we talk about something we truly believe in, the coon hood has absolutely thwarted the raccoons' efforts on one of our feeders where they just had parties. I mean, they got little pictures in their dens of them up there, having a ball on these feeders, and those days are over, and it saved us. It saved us a fortune. Because of what the coons would do. The other thing it's done with the coon hood is that, those coons, I've come up there. We've seen pictures of deer that kind of ran off because there was a coon sitting there eating out of it. Mm-hmm. So technically, you could make the argument that the coon is preventing, some gigantic deer potentially from eating out of it. I'd say probably the third argument for having the coon hoods, especially if you're a guy who's got a lease that's 4 or 5 hours away and you can't get out there all the time. Obviously, you want to protect that protein that's in there from the coons, but you also want to protect it from the rain. And I know that the coon hood and Hayden, he doesn't say that. I don't think he's going to come out and say that the coon hood will keep your protein dry. But let me tell you, as somebody who doesn't work for the company, I can tell you that it has kept the protein dry. The feed, the protein in that feeder that's got the coon hoods on it has not been clogged in well over a year. And when I mean clogged, I'm talking about little clumps, but little clumps obviously can be a real big problem. So it's helped a lot.
Right. Huh. Well, there you go. I mean, that's something to think about. I mean, another thing we ought to mention to some folks out there, or remind folks about is, if it's not too late, I would, to start a supplemental program, right? I mean, you can go ahead and do that if you're not doing it now. And if you're kind of, at a loss or wondering, where you should buy your, the feed, or even if you don't have the feeder, where you should buy the feeder and the feed.
Right.
We have a solution to help you out.
Indeed.
What is that solution?
Well, that would be our little online store that we've not online store, right? Platform.
I mean, it's on a website. So
yeah. Yeah. So what we've really been trying to do is we're trying not to be a lot of white noise. We're out there and we like to try to represent products that we know work and that work very well. And so everybody that you see on our web store basically is somebody that we've talked to. We've seen their products in action, and we believe in them. And then they're good people, or we're not going to talk to them. We're not going to put them on the site. So definitely give them a shot.
For sure. And then, check out our hunter search where, you can type in where your property is, or the route that you're taking from your home to your property if you're not lucky enough to live on it.
Right.
And you can find out, what feed stores are between you and there or around where you are if you don't know already, or
Right.
try someone else out along the way. Just go feedbandit.com and you can use that search, see who's out there, and start giving those folks a look, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
You got to support your local feed store, right?
Absolutely.
As a lot of folks I think have heard us say on this podcast in the past.
A time or two.
Yep. But I mean, they can help you out with not only your supplemental feed and whatnot, but
right.
Sure, we've kind of gone through the period of the spring rains, right?
Yes.
We got a lot of that this spring, but that's not to say that now you can't start thinking. And actually, what they say is you buy an umbrella when it's sunny outside, right? So that you have it when it's raining.
Right.
Now's time to maybe start taking stock of your land and thinking, where are some spots where I really need some more water, or I can supplement water and whatnot. And there's ways to do that. Maybe some feed stores will have the product that'll help you do that. You can check that out. But let's maybe talk a little bit about that. It won't rain nearly as much now, probably between now and
correct.
But what little it might rain, you might want to consider collecting.
No, for sure, and we've talked about at great lengths, but water is one of those key elements that you just got to have. It's not something that obviously you can go to a feed store and say, yes, I'll have 10,000 gallons of water, please. It just obviously doesn't work that way. So you've got to try to take advantage of the situation you're at, that you've got in front of you. And I one of the things that I like to recommend is that, chances are, if you're on a hunting lease or a farm, or if you're leasing property from somebody, that somebody is going to have it in ag. You just have to be. So that somebody is going to have some sort of stock, whether it be goats or sheep or probably cattle. And so obviously, if you've got that, you've got to have water sources. So I highly recommend trying to maybe try to work with the landowner to try to really, if they've got kind of a subpar watering situation, and by that I mean maybe it doesn't, maybe the actual watering device doesn't hold much water, it goes dry, or or the pipes bust all the time because the cattle stomp on it, or something of that nature, or the water's just foul, it's just green. This is a really great opportunity for you to get engaged and to help that landowner, either by physical labor, or maybe spending a couple of bucks to, maybe help them out there. And because ultimately you're going to be taking care of your livestock, but you'll be taking care of the deer as well. And everybody knows that that you have to have water. It's just no way around it. So if your property does not have water and a good supply of it, the chances are that the deer are going to leave. They're going to go find where it is, So now is a good time to really brush up those water features. A case in point, one of the water features we've got at Rancho Bandito is it's a little supplemental trough that comes off of that's fed kind of by gravity by another trough and pump system. And it kind of goes to the edge of a field, and it goes in this big, thick mesquite thicket. And it is an absolute deer magnet. And one of the things I noticed is back during the heat of the summer, I think it was like early August, I came by there just to check it out. And that's something else I encourage you to do. When you're out there filling your feeders and just, looking around your lease, make sure you've got that rancher's cell phone number, or whatever they've got within arm's length. So if you see a trough that's busted or something that's dry, I mean, you literally may be saving his livelihood, saving his animal's life. So in this particular instance, this is basically what happened to us. I noticed that the trough was completely dry, and I kind of started to panic because I know that in that little pasture there's not water for God, probably 200 or 300 acres. And that's a problem. That's something we got to fix. So I immediately called one of our ranch hands. He came, and it was, something wasn't pressed right. It filled back up, and we're in great shape. But, now is the time when things are starting to get real hot and real dry to get out there and look at your water infrastructure and make sure it's sound.
Well, actually, it's probably late, but better late than never, right?
Oh, exactly. Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, and another thing, and you had mentioned, and I didn't run with it, is again talking about working with your local rancher, okay, who owns your property. About again, I mentioned the whole livestock thing, whether it be goats or sheep or whatever, you got to have the water. Chances are on that property that you're hunting, there's probably a barn, there's some sort of sorting pen or something of that nature. I would really help and do the research for them, encourage that landowner to look at harvesting rainwater, especially if they've got, smaller stocks such as goats and sheep and whatnot, obviously don't take as much water requirements. Therefore, you can set up a rain catchment just on a standard size barn, and it goes into a 3,000 gallon you got to have black, by the way, polyurethane tank. And then you have the water on the end. I mean, that can service those animals and the wildlife.
Mm-hmm.
Not only the deer, but the turkeys and the songbirds and things of that nature. So don't overlook these rain catching devices. They're actually, you'd be surprised how much you've got out there that's already pretty suitable for catching rain.
Right. And, I mean, we're talking about supplemental with feed, protein or whatever, but I mean, we probably should have started or let off with water. I mean, that's probably the most important thing.
Absolutely.
And then especially, if you may not know, but if you do, I mean, you may understand, how much water is on the properties around you.
Right.
I mean, if you happen to have a good idea about that, then you can kind of understand, okay, well, what is competing, if you're not a high fence or whatever, right, how is that competing against what I have for deer as well? So it's something to factor into that decision.
Something else to think about, and here's a little tip for you guys that are getting onto new properties to hunt, new leases and whatnot. Obviously during the raining season, any depression in the ground is going to catch water. Now, obviously that doesn't mean it's going to hold it, but it'll definitely catch it, and it'll sustain those animals through the wet period, and they'll be fine. Where you really get into crunch time and where you really see what kind of water situation you've got is in the middle of summer. If your property hasn't received rain in a month and a half, and it's August, that, and it's hot as hell, I get it. But that's the time to go through there and start looking and saying, okay, that little seasonal creek that I crossed when I was turkey hunting this year, is there water in there? Go check it out.
Mm-hmm.
And take note of that kind of stuff, because, again, water is it's one of the big key elements to all this. It's just nowhere near as marketed and advertised, because it's not, you can't make a sticker with water on it, whereas you can with all these feeds and feeders and whatnot. So, when it starts to get hot, that's when you really know what kind of water situation you got. And something else I would do is, again, if you've only got a handful of water sources, it's a really good spot to put a camera too. Because, again, that's where all your game is going to be coming in. Now, of course, that can also backfire too, because you can have the coyotes and the bobcats coming into those limited water sources as well. But that's a really good spot to put a camera and see what you got coming in.
Mm-hmm. Water is the nectar of the gods.
That's it is.
Or beer, one of the two.
Yeah.
All right. So what you right? Yeah, there you go.
God, I had some High Life the other day. Oh, out of the bottle too. Fantastic.
Nice.
God, it was so good.
It's been a while since I've had the champagne of beers.
Oh, God, it was so great. And I had that and a nice cigar and cut off sleeves and no shoes on. Yep, pretty much in paradise.
Beautiful. Yeah. I can imagine.
Oh yeah, it was nice.
All right, so let's say you got your supplemental feed and your water situation covered. Another thing you probably want to go out and look at fixing or getting ready is your blinds. Probably when you're sitting out there during the season, you may have noticed several things. It's like, I need to paint that, or I need to fix that something. When I get a chance, I need to whatever those things are. Now's the time to do it. I mean, you got nothing but time.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and we were talking about that, and truthfully, if you're going to do a lot of miserable back-breaking work, boy, you've already missed the window, because it's going to be hot.
But it's better now than August.
No, there is definitely
marginally better.
Yeah, there is definitely truth to that. Speaking of, I've followed a couple of guys that hunt in South Texas, and it's so hot during the summer, during the day, that they actually fill feeders at night. It didn't even think about that.
Genius.
Yeah, it really is. And they've got lights in the back of their trucks, and they just, go around, a couple of adult beverages, 15, 20, 30, whatever it takes,
Right.
But it was really kind of cool. But yeah, no, for sure. I mean, now's the time to get the paint on there and all that kind of stuff. A lot of people, back in the day, back in the 90s, I should say, people would, that's really, nobody was feeding protein back then. Only the big sophisticated ranchers were. It was just corn. So, really all of get your feeders going and your blind maintenance, all that stuff was typically done in September. And I'm of the opinion, I mean, if that's what you got to do, that's what you got to do. I mean, I understand, but I am of the opinion that, the sooner you can get that done, and the sooner you can, the sooner you can leave an area undisturbed, right, and really let it go back to the wild, I think the better it is. Now, of course,
it wouldn't hurt, right? I
yeah.
mean, especially, let's say you're moving big blinds. You might as well do it now than September, especially if you're dove hunting and you don't want to do any work.
Yep. No, absolutely. So, but yeah, I mean, like you were saying, get it done now. Speaking of, we've got one of our blinds that's actually it's looking like Spudnik. It's completely silver. So,
my favorite blind.
Yes, that very one.
It's the sun. If you're looking at it and the sun hits it at the right angle, you go blind.
Oh God! yeah. Talk about the hot box from hell.
Oh yeah, geez.
Yeah. Yeah, it's rough. But it's sure is fun. So,
well, you'd say, okay, so you got your blinds, you got all that stuff taken care of.
Yep.
There's also, if you've never done like a fall food plot, you can at least start scouting, areas or
absolutely
places you want to do that, and even
absolutely,
if you got a lot of clearing to do or whatever, you can start working on that now to get the soil ready, maybe, or there's things you can do at least there to. For that.
Yep. And here in Texas, we've there's a lot of winter wheat. There's a lot of guys that'll do food plots like you see on the outdoor channels and whatnot, but a lot of the ranchers, especially north, really all over the state, they plant a lot of winter wheat because it's good forage for the cattle. Then obviously you can harvest the wheat or bale it. In fact, Rancho Bandito we just got done harvesting all of our wheat, which is kind of cool. So we had a pretty decent crop this year. But I digress. The winter wheat or the oats or whatever they're planting, and again they typically do it for the cattle, and so that is going to be come deer season. That's going to be a very natural draw to the deer. So, if you're new to a hunting lease, make sure and I tell you what, now that you've got Google Maps, you can really, find your lease and then zoom out and see if you've got any, fields there, or ask the rancher, hey man, are you going to be doing wheat or oats this year? And if they say yes, then you'll see if you can kind of sneak a blind in there, because boy, that is just going to be a huge draw to the deer, as you know. And when we would drive up to Lubbock off of 114 during deer season, I am surprised I ended up killing myself, because I'm sitting there just glued to these wheat fields, looking at the turkey and the mule deer and the whitetail. I mean, God, it was so cool. So talk to your rancher, see if he's doing winter wheat. and or oats again. And if he's not, ask if you can do your own somewhere.
Right, right. And while you're out there scouting, something that just popped in my mind is, so we hunt from blinds a lot, us too, but we're not bow hunters. Maybe we will someday, but we sit in the blind. But we also tend to sometimes like to get out of the blind and maybe make our own little blind within some trees or something like that, and sit there. So another thing to do is while you're out there doing all this work, keep your eyes open for some cool little nooks and crannies where maybe it would be kind of neat to sit out, and hunt from sitting within I've sat in a cedar tree before, that type of thing, on the ground, still shot at deer, that type of thing.
Absolutely.
So there's other things like that you can kind of keep your eye open for, just kind of getting an idea about that, but also look for deer trails and things of that nature while you're out there, so you can get, you can kind of understand where they're going, and help you maybe set up shop there this coming fall, maybe move a portable blind or something that, just to experiment, or something, who knows? There's a lot of things you can get an idea from.
Absolutely. But you got to get out of there.
That's right.
You got it's not get out of there. You got to get out there. And I'll tell you, speaking of portable blinds, I was looking at our Facebook feed today, and our good buddies at Tank Blinds. He had one of his customers hooked up was moving their blind, and they ordered their tank blind with skids on it. So it was really kind of cool to watch this customer just kind of hook a strap up and just move this blind. He was just going low and slow, and was able to drag it to exactly where he wanted, which obviously is just so huge. The big tower stands are great, but let me tell you, man, that getting those things on a 16-foot trailer, whoop,
right.
It's dicey, and it just sucks. There's just no other way to put it that way.
Well, I'm glad you brought up tank blinds though, because we highly encourage people to check them out.
Very
really cool. And you guys can learn a little more about them if you go to feedbandit.com/tankblinds.
Yep.
That'll take you to their page on our website where we outline and lay out what they're all about.
Yep.
It's part of our Bandit Gear and Services area. And you could really, if you're in the market for a blind, and you're in the kind of area of, I want to get something that's super high quality, that's going to last me a long time.
Right.
It's literally going to be like an heirloom I pass down to my kids.
Right.
Because they're just unbelievable quality, how they're constructed and whatnot. And with all the features too, we could be here talking about this for 30 minutes of what different customized variations you can get. But anyone listening right now, if you're considering buying a blind, I highly suggest just go to feedbandit.com/tankblinds and check out what's available there. And while you're there, you might be able to find yourself a little deal.
Yeah, no, it's pretty cool. They I just remember just how awesome they are, just watching that thing slide across the this is some probably in Central Texas. So very, very, very cool. And like Jimmy said, the features on these things are pretty sweet as well. So and they're wasp proof too, which is something that we were discussing candidly on our podcast when we had them on there, because wasps just really ruin things. So
no little friends.
Yeah, no. God. Yeah.
All right. Well, so anyway, I think that's a lot of those are some tall to-dos that you've given the folks out there.
I think so.
Unless you got another major one to talk about, I think that's a good place to leave the folks with, huh?
Yeah, no, I agree. You can always be out there shooting the hogs.
That's true.
That's for sure.
Well, while you're driving around doing this, have a rifle with you.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Oh, and look for sheds too.
Yep. Yeah, especially if you haven't been out to your place lately.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and of course, I just would caution everybody, if you are out there hog hunting, if you intend on eating a summertime hog, make sure you move quickly, because that meat goes bad really fast. And I don't know that you would necessarily know. Oh gosh, is this meat bad now? Because I don't think it's like instantly going to rot and stink. So, but I think meat can go bad without all the telltale signs until you're strapped to the toilet for weeks, vomiting and peeing out your butt. So, yeah.
Yep.
Just some advice there.
I think that is great advice to leave the folks with this episode of the Feed Bandit podcast. What do you think?
Oh, that was good. Very good.
All right. Well, thank you, folks, for listening. Hey, let us know what you think about everything we just talked about. I mean, if you agree or disagree, or have some other ideas on things that you go about doing, around this time of year and throughout the summer, we'd love to hear it.
Yep.
Give us some more ideas or things we don't do that maybe we should be doing. We don't act like we don't put ourselves out there, and we're not the end all be all on hunting, of course.
Nope.
Just a couple of guys that like talking about it. So please let us know. I mean, you can do that. Go to feedbanditpodcast.com, and there you can email us, howdy@feedbandit.com, or you can leave us a voicemail. That's really simple. If you're driving while listening to this, just click on that thing and record a voicemail and send it to us. We'd love to hear from you.
Yep.
But yeah, other than that, that's all I got. You got anything else for the folks?
Well, we always end it with support your local feed store. But I also think, given that everything's going on, man, everybody just got to take a step back and just chill. God have mercy.
Yep.
We got one shot at this life, apparently, and there's a lot of crazy stuff going on. And let's face it, 2020 needs an economy-size enema, and to just blow it out, start all over again. So.
This year needs an enema.
Yeah. Great movie. Fleet enemas will love that. Like, hey, we were mentioning the feedback. We got to give this year an enema. Wow.
Do we get an affiliate?
Yeah, exactly. But you really, you just gotta. Everybody's got to take a step back and just calm down, just kind of live your life. And, for those of you who are out there who hunt and fish and love the outdoors, there is no greater thing to clear your mind than to think about hunting and fishing and all that kind of stuff. And, and then they get out there and deal with it. Just the stuff that's happening in the cities, man, oh man, it's just, not saying that there's not issues out in the country, of course, but, golly, there's just, you've really got to take advantage of the sunsets and the little fish biting and maybe a swim in the lake. I think a lot of people take those little things for granted, but when you look at what's going on right now and just all these major events and how life just seems like it's crashing, those small little events that you passed up, they mean a lot more. I know they certainly do for me. So
amen.
Anyway.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah. Well,
only thing I'd add is stick with us on the Feed Bandit podcast, and we'll help you take your mind off of all that stuff going on, and keep it on hunting. And looking forward to the seasons coming up.
Absolutely. Yeah, I can only imagine what's going to happen next week. God have mercy.
Well, next week we're going to be back with the folks with another edition of the Feed Bandit podcast.
Well, right. Yeah. We'll be
something for them to look forward to.
Like, who knew that Jupiter would land into Earth? I mean, God, what are the chances?
Although I think it would be the other way around because Jupiter is significantly larger than the gas ball.
Oh boy. No. Nerd alert. That was good. Yeah.
All right, with that.
Yeah.
Well, folks, we'll see you next week on another edition of the Feed Bandit podcast. Y'all hang in there. Take care. Thanks for listening to the Feed Bandit podcast. If you like what we discuss on the show, be sure to sign up to our email list to get even more killer hunting ideas, tips, tricks, and exclusive deals on innovative hunting gear and services delivered straight to your inbox. Sign up over at feedbandit.com or simply by texting the word bandit to 33777. See you on the next one. And remember, support your local feed store.